Well, navigating today's fast-moving news environment is no easy task, and for some children, with the digital world at their fingertips, can be a pretty confusing place, rife with misinformation or content they don't fully understand. Well, our next guest is one of the minds behind Newshounds, a media literacy program that's designed to encourage kids' curiosity about the world while also teaching them to think critically about what they're seeing online. Bryce Corbett, welcome back to the program. We spoke to you when it was just kicking off.
Yes, indeed.
So give us a bit of a sense of how it's gone and what maybe you've learned out of the process.
Yeah, no, we spoke a year ago when Newshounds was first launching the pilot program, and at that point we were just curious to see whether there was a market for it. We're now 1 year in, and 1,800 classrooms around the country have signed up to get their kids to start to learn to become critical consumers of media, and it's obviously been an idea very much of its time. We conducted a survey. We also took part in it, got QUT, Queensland University of Technology, to do a survey of the Newshounds program, and they found that it was incredibly effective in terms of teaching kids to be more critical about the way they look at media. And we also conducted a survey with our audience and found that according to teachers and parents around the country, some 45% of kids are getting their news and information from social media, which is just terrifying when you think about it.
Yeah, but it's a reality which all media organisations, including ours, are pivoting towards. That doesn't take away from the fact that, as you rightly say, Bryce, there is an absolutely a sewer of misinformation out there.
Absolutely.
There's always been misinformation and worse, disinformation out there, amplified on social media. So your programs are very important, given kids are in that space, to at least give them some semblance of critical thinking.
Indeed. And it's super important, and it's interesting when anybody who has kids will know the experience of having their children come to the dinner table at night and regurgitate facts that they have picked up online as they're scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, and it's incredibly disturbing. One of the interesting things we found, though, with Newshounds and the schools that have been doing Newshounds is that the kids are taking, and it's like a reverse transfer of intergenerational knowledge, and they're going back home and they're sitting down at dinner with their parents and they're calling their parents out. Because the Newshounds program is led by Squizzy the Newshound, who's an animated detective dog, and he teaches kids to stop, think and check before believing everything they see, read or hear online. And lots of kids now are calling out their parents and making sure that their parents are starting to become more critical about the things they're seeing online.
So what happens next for the program?
Well, we're in discussion at the moment with the federal government. The reason that I'm down here in Melbourne today is I'm taking crossbench MP Zoe Daniel to a school in her electorate so she can see Newshounds in action. We've got a visit coming up with the Federal Education Minister, Jason Clare, to a school in his electorate in a couple of weeks' time. We really are hoping that the federal government will see the value in incorporating Newshounds into the Australian curriculum. It's something that I've just been awarded a Churchill Fellowship to go and travel.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, yeah. To travel around the world and to see how media literacy is being taught to primary school kids in other countries. Because you have countries, for example, like Finland and Estonia, who, not coincidentally, share a neighbour in Russia and have spent the last 20 years combating propaganda there. And these places have introduced mandatory media literacy education for primary school kids and indeed the entire population. This is an idea of its time.
100% media literacy, and also a greater focus on civics. In a broader sense, do you worry about the new generations of voters coming through, talking about teenagers at the moment, because they aren't equipped to work out what's true and what's false?
Yeah, and I think you'll find that the governments generally around the world are starting to understand this is not just about learning a fake bit of news about a celebrity online now. This is democracy-threatening stuff.
100%.
And elections are being influenced by this sort of thing.
Can I also just, as a side note, ask you, so many parents have spoken to us about feeling that their kids are utterly overwhelmed by the amount of news out there, and they actually want to just switch off altogether. What are you hearing? What's your advice?
Oh, look, I think it's very widely accepted that kids today are receiving more information than at any other time in history. But what they don't have are the critical skills to tell what is real and what is not. They're also being exposed to a lot of information that's wholly inappropriate for how far their brains are developed at a young age. So there's a huge amount of anxiety out there amongst kids and amongst parents about their children's exposure to information that's inappropriate. That's why we created Squiz Kids, the daily news podcast that I host every day of the school term. It's a kid-friendly take on the news, and crucially, it's all about not making kids feel more anxious about what's going on in the world around them than they would otherwise be.
Bryce Corbett, great to have you on. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Bryce.